Hey, what's happening, everybody? Welcome to Sanctified Rebellion. I'm your host, Michael Cantrell, and I am here today to discuss with you something I caught of interest on the mid-season finale of The Walking Dead, and it has to do with the topic of abortion. Okay, so Sunday night was the mid-season finale of The Walking Dead, and there was a lot of great stuff that happened during the episode. And while that's all good and well to talk about, I want to focus on something that I found to be extremely important, a lesson that this show kind of put forward, probably without even thinking through its complete applications. Okay, so before we go any further, there are some spoilers. Actually, some rather massive spoilers. So if you don't want the episode ruined, I would suggest pausing this video and then go watch it first, then come back. Okay, ready? Let's go. Okay, so by the end of the episode, we see that Rick is finally growing his spine back, and he's ready to start fighting against Negan and the Saviors. He's no longer going to sit there and take the garbage that's being shoveled on him by Negan and his men. He's ready to do something about the awful situation that his people are in. Now, initially, Negan broke Rick by forcing him to see two of his friends beaten to death right in front of him, and by almost cutting off his son's arm. Now, that made Rick kind of fall apart. He kind of broke right there, and then agreed to go and do whatever Negan asked him to do. And since then, he's just been accepting Negan's terms and telling the rest of the group that this is the best way that they can make a living for themselves in Alexandria, that as long as they keep obeying Negan's rules, they'll at least have some sort of life. Well, when he returns back to Alexandria after scavenging for Negan and finds that Negan killed two of his people without him even being there, he realizes Negan doesn't have any plans of actually keeping his word. As I've said in previous posts, both written and video stuff, Negan is the federal government. I mean, that's exactly what he is. He's classic, tyrant. And that comes across in his desire to be worshipped by others and for him to be viewed as the supreme law of the land kind of a deal. Well, he oversteps his boundaries in big ways this time, and Rick is realizing that he has no intention of keeping his word, and that since he is the major authority right now, Negan can change the contract anytime he wants. He can change the terms anytime that he pleases. And typically, when he changes them, somebody gets killed for it. So with that being said, Rick just kind of realized that now's the time to fight back. So he gets together with Michonne. Michonne talks him into, trying to put together an army to go and fight Negan and the Saviors. And the last scene we see of this episode, well, next to the last scene, is the core group of survivors going to the hilltop and being united once again as they seek to put together an army to defeat Negan. And the lesson that I got out of this particular episode was that there comes a point in time when we as individuals have to stop ignoring the evil that is unfolding all around us, and we must stand up and do everything in our power to fight against this wickedness and to shut it down. And so this episode and that lesson reminded me of the fight that we as conservatives and Christians have against the scourge of abortion in the United States. Just like Rick got tired of seeing the evil that Negan spewed out all over his people, and the pain and misery and suffering that this man was causing those he considered family, we too have to look around and stop being complacent with the absolutely atrocious murders that happen on a daily basis in this country as babies, innocent children, are slaughtered in the womb. Innocent children made in the image of God, who have a precious soul and who are precious to God, their Creator, are being murdered every single day right before our eyes. And so the question then becomes, are we going to be like the old broken Rick and submit to whatever the government and pro-choicers say because we're afraid of some kind of consequences they may levy against us, of being silenced or persecuted, having our businesses shut down, being opposed publicly, being mocked and ridiculed? Are we going to allow those kinds of behaviors to shut us down from doing what we know God has called us to do? The sixth commandment says, "Thou shalt not murder," and that covers the unborn. The unborn have every right to live as much as anybody else. That sixth commandment is much for them as it is those of us who are outside of the womb. And it is up to us to oppose the Negans of the world, the abortion doctors and the pro-choicers who think it's okay to murder a preborn child, and to raise up an army against them, not in a physical war sense, but in a spiritual sense, to link arms as Christians and believers in Jesus, and to boldly confront this evil wickedness by having a ministry outside of abortion mills and doing our best to share the gospel and spread grace and love to those considering abortion, to hopefully talk them out of murdering their children. And at the same time, not only do we do the frontline ministry there, but we also need to be pushing for legislation that will be a full-on ban for abortion, legislation that will criminalize it, and that will call for the prosecution of any such individual who practices this heinous, heinous procedure. Just like Rick has now decided to fight against Negan, it's time for pro-lifers to stand up and truly be serious about taking on this fight and getting out there and opposing abortion in any way possible. If your church doesn't have a ministry of mercy that goes out to abortion clinics, consider starting one. If you don't have an abortion clinic anywhere nearby that you can minister to regularly, consider working in some way to lobby for legislation that would help criminalize abortion and would save the lives of unborn children. There's all kinds of things we can do. You can volunteer at life centers to provide money or goods that a young pregnant woman might need. You can offer to adopt a child. There's just so much that we can do to be the hands and feet of Jesus in this area, and I highly, highly recommend that everyone consider how they might play a role in defeating this horrible enemy, and in doing so, glorifying God. So that's really all I had for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please be sure to like and subscribe and share the video around. All right, so that's all I got, guys. I'll catch you in the next one.